Shakers, and welcome to Worth Your Salt, the podcast that shakes up your marketing game in the health and wellness industry. Worth Your Salt is brought to you by Salt Marketing. Salt Marketing helps health and wellness practitioners build trust and authority to attract a steady stream of inbound wellness seekers. For more information, you can visit us online at saltmarketing.co. I'm Jennifer Oraquah, StoryBrand Certified Guide, Marketing Strategist of Salt Marketing, and your host for today's episode of Worth Your Salt. Now, in health and wellness marketing, it's always competitive. There's always another expert trying to tell you how to spend your marketing dollars. But imagine a channel that can precisely target your ideal audience, reaching them at the right time and place with messages tailored to their specific habits and behaviors. Media buying offers just that. A strategic approach to purchasing advertising space across various platforms, enabling businesses to amplify their reach and impact. For us, that means the potential to connect with individuals seeking our services or products in a more meaningful and effective way, ultimately driving growth and engagement. Marianne Pruitt is a seasoned expert in the realm of media buying and CEO of Mosaic Media. With a career rooted in senior executive roles at some of the nation's largest media outlets, Marianne has honed her expertise in negotiating, purchasing, and monitoring advertising space across traditional and digital channels. Recognized as a top woman in media by Synopsis Media in 2020 and again in 2023, Marianne's passion for crafting niche marketing strategies has propelled Mosaic Media forward, making Marianne a trusted advisor nationwide. With her wealth of experience and her proven track record of success, Marianne is the go-to authority for health and wellness practitioners seeking actionable insights to harness the potential of media buying to elevate their brands and their businesses. Marianne, I appreciate you joining me today on Worth Your Salt.
Well, thanks for having me on, Jennifer. I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
So as someone who focuses on digital marketing, this just isn't something that I know a whole lot about. So I'm hoping you can explain what media buying is, why it can be powerful for businesses, especially in health and wellness.
Absolutely. And what we've seen over the decades is an evolution in media buying. So we saw where it used to be very broad, very where you would say, I wanted to buy media towards an 18 to 54-year-old adult, which I always thought was strange because how do you really target an 18-year-old and a 54-year-old the same way? But now to the way we are now, where we are really niching down and finding the specific individual that we are trying to reach in a target audience and getting that persona. We used to be demographic, now we're persona. And how do we build a persona around that? So it has changed immensely. And really, all media buying is anything in the paid space, whether you're doing TV, radio, print, outdoor, out of home, if you're doing social media, if you're doing Google, if you're doing anything programmatically, all of that is paid media. That's what media buying is. And so people like us come in and help you actually build the strategy so you don't have wasted dollars. That's the most important goal at the end of the day, is to maximize your dollar spend.
So talking about how things have changed for traditional media like TV and radio, how does that present opportunities for small and medium-sized businesses that maybe wouldn't have had those opportunities before?
It's a significant shift for small size businesses and medium sized businesses, because before you used to have millions of dollars to be on television. Now in the programmatic space of OTT and connected television, we can digitally bid that so that you don't have to have minimum orders to be able to make it work scientifically. Because you have a science behind anything that's purchased media wise of how many impressions you're going to want to get per individual and how many, but back in the day it used to be what's my reach and what's my frequency. Mm-hmm. Now we still have the reach and frequency, but now it's more impressions and frequency and how often they're getting the ad. But the cost is going to be significantly lower because I don't have to spend millions of dollars to be in a very specific time frame, or tens of thousands of dollars to be in a very specific time frame. Now I can programmatically bid that based on where my audience is, not just guessing that they're going to be there demographically.
Fascinating. And I know a lot of health and wellness entrepreneurs might feel overwhelmed by this idea of media buying in general. So how can they start incorporating it into their marketing strategy without breaking the bank, like you were saying?
Really find a good partner, work with a partner that is direct seat on DSPs. That's when in the programmatic space, and a DSP is a demand side platform. Find somebody who is a direct seat that can help you with that and build the strategy. So have somebody help you with your plan and then overall with your buying and your bidding. Don't try to take it on yourself because it's become so specialized. It has become a point where unless you have millions of dollars to spend, you really do want to make sure that you have an expert helping you on the side. But the beauty of it is when you do get somebody like us that helps, you don't have to make those minimum spends because we have dozens and hundreds of clients that are spending. So we have the volume to be able to help you out, to be able to reach your clients where they are.
Fascinating. So where's the intersection of, say, social media advertising and traditional media? How do those two things work together to really help us propel our businesses forward?
really important to know the strengths of each tactic and what you're trying to do. So in traditional media, television is still good for live events, news, and sports. And even throw in political has become sports in today's world. And so those are the things that live television is good for. But when we get into social, that's your brand recognition. That's you reaching out to teams, but into reaching out to potential customers. And when you think about it, is on the social space, it's not the targeting tool it once was. We used to be able to target significantly within social and Facebook and Meta and in those spaces. Now we kind of have to look at programmatic, which is where we then can go in and target very specific databases and behaviors and personas. So all of these realms have top of funnel, bottom of funnel approaches that you really have to think through what their strengths and weaknesses are and use them in that way. And that's how they intersect.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, Marianne, I'm learning so much. But you and I have to take a quick sponsorship break right now. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about why we might want to leverage media buying as a part of our overall strategy. Hey there, Salt Nation. Jennifer Orequah, marketing strategist and StoryBrand certified guide. And I have something special for you today. If you're tired of watching your marketing budget disappear without seeing the results that you deserve, you're going to love this. Salt Marketing's latest checklist will help you maximize your marketing budget with smart strategies to get the most out of every dollar. This checklist is packed with 10 actionable tips. From defining crystal clear goals to harnessing the power of targeted advertising, we've got you covered every step of the way. Grab the insight that helps our clients succeed, including how to leverage free and low-cost marketing tools and why we say organic before paid, and teach you how to track and analyze performance for higher returns. Say goodbye to wasted ad spend and hello to a smarter, more strategic approach to marketing. If you're ready to make every dollar count and take your business to new heights, head on over to saltmarketing.co/results and download your free copy of Maximizing Your Marketing Budget today. That's saltmarketing.co/results. Trust me, this is one resource you don't want to miss. Let's make your marketing dollars work harder for you starting now. Let's maximize every dollar, Shakers, and let's make a difference in the lives of those who need us most. Marianne, what are some of the common misconceptions about media buying that you often encounter, particularly among smaller businesses?
Smaller businesses have a tendency to think that they can't afford the strategy or a partner. And that's probably the biggest misconception is find a partner, find somebody to work with, because you're actually going to end up building a better relationship and savings over time than you are if you try to go at it yourself. You're going to try to guess and think through what you can do and what sticks to the wall and where you're going to go and thinking guest strategy. Just like in health and wellness, you're the experts in health and wellness. Now find an expert that helps you in the media buying space. And it really is not going to cost you much more. And it really is the return on investment, if you're doing it properly, is there. And that's where that's the biggest misnomer is I can't afford it. I can't afford help. Absolutely you can. And you really need to look into doing it, because right now you're probably wasting dollars by trying to go at it yourself.
And so let's talk strategy a little bit. How can media buying help health and wellness businesses target really specific habits and behaviors of their audience?
It's such a beautiful thing in today's world, because when we used to be able to be so broad and we had to be broad, you were really guessing where your audience was. You knew by demographic of where they were and you were guessing. But now you know the habits. Like we can dig down into very specific diseases that people are dealing with, or very long-term illnesses that they're dealing with. Or overall, are they active? Are they outdoors? Like very specific things that now we can target by that persona and that individual, and we get to know them. And then we're placing the ads based on where they are, not based on where we're guessing they are, but actually what the data is telling us where they are and where their IP addresses are and how we can target to that, down to that level. It really has gone from a broad approach to precision targeting.
So what about platforms? Like we all know Facebook advertising is a challenge for sure. So what platforms would you recommend for health and wellness businesses, like part of their media buying?
A lot across the board. And it really does depend on who that persona is, that individual that you're trying to target. So don't dismiss social media for our older audiences. Our older audiences, because of COVID, actually went on to social media way faster than an evolution of 10 years would have gotten them there. They overnight went to social media. Don't dismiss streaming audio for our younger audiences, and even local radio stations that are streaming audio. Look at it in that way too. And that's a programmatic type of bid, because we saw them actually care about local information during COVID. COVID changed our media habits because we went from already consuming media at an all-time high. But then when COVID hit, it's in human nature to collect as much information to keep you and your family safe. So COVID hit, we started to overconsume media at an all-time high. The difference is, and that happens at any catastrophic event. Difference is COVID lasted for so long, we created new habits. So now we're seeing where our audiences are and what they're consuming. Digital is king right now across all demographics and all age groups, no matter what, whether it's social, whether it's programmatic, whether it's on display, all those different platforms. When it comes to programmatic, really truly find a good partner that, like I said, is on a direct seat on a DSP. There's so many DSPs and so many different data sets available to you. Really look and find a partner that has that direct seat that can help you with mapping the programmatic space, as well as then adding in the social. If they're really good at, if they're a true media shop that can help you, they're going to help you navigate that traditional, social, and programmatic space.
So once we figured out our target market and we figured out our platforms where we want to be, how do you and your team at Mosaic work on the messaging? How do we make sure that's going to resonate with the right audience?
You 100% have to make sure that it's resonating, right? You have to make sure that what they want to hear, not what you think they want to hear. Let's do message testing. Let's make sure that we're testing what we need to do. And in the media space now, what's wonderful about it is A/B testing. Let's test multiple messages and see where they react. Let's see where they react the most in the way we want them to. The very beginning, the first thing you need to do is identify what your key performance indicators are going to be. What do you in health and wellness, in your very specific offering, consider a lead? Then from there, we work backwards of how we want to get them in the door or a phone call or an appointment made. Those are the things that we want to identify. What do you consider? Because for some people, it's foot traffic. For others, it's an online query that they need to fill out. You need to define that. Where do you want that lead to be? And then work backwards to get them to be driven into that area.
Yeah. So on that note, what are some key metrics or indicators that health and wellness practitioners should be taking a look at or making sure that they're measuring the success of their campaigns? I mean, obviously we all have our own measure of success, but in your experience, what are good ways to know whether we're succeeding?
And in the digital space, what we're doing more and more is an actual attribution of your ad spend. Where are your leads coming from? Because in digital, we can track those things. We can track, was it a click? Did they actually come through your door? There are things that we can track now that at such an advanced level that you need to be thinking through that. So when you're finding your partner to work with, actually tell them what you are looking for in a lead. Do you want someone to walk physically through your door? Or do you want them to make a phone call? Because that's another attribution that we can make. Do you want them to fill out a form on your website? That's another attribution we can make. So it's tagging all your ads to see exactly what action they're taking. And now in today's wonderful technology world, we can do these things and we can track these back and report them back. That's the other part too, is find a partner that's going to report them back to you in a way that's useful to you, that's helpful, giving you the insights that you need of knowing, okay, what do we need to do next? What are the next things that come up? How do we do this? And just keep moving down that path.
Yeah, because just having the numbers doesn't tell you what to do next. Being able to interpret that.
And, yes. Yeah, and find somebody who's working with you to optimize things regularly, to really give you that expertise so that your ad buys are being well spent. You're not wasting a dollar.
And that makes sense. So what are some practical tips you would offer for somebody who's just starting out with media buying to help them maximize that budget and their ROI?
Key things are really looking at where's the audience, and always start with the audience first and work your way back. So who is your audience? Have that defined first. If you want to make sure that this is going to work in your favor as much as possible, absolutely figure out who your audience is, number one. Number two, then you're going to work it back to what do I consider a lead? How do I define that? How do I want my audience to reach out to me? How do I want them to do that? Then from there, you're figuring out what assets am I going to use? Messaging. Am I going to be able to use? And actually, I will tell you this, the creative gets put before the tactics, where in reality, if you have the budget, you should switch those. Let's find where the audiences are. You figure out the tactics and then be able to to develop the creative to go to where your audiences are. A lot of times we get people that will call us and say, but I don't have any video, so I can't do that. But that's where their audience is. And really, in reality, we need to look at budget shuffling to make sure that the media is actually driving more than the creative is driving. Because if you can have the best message in the world for your audience, but if you're not reaching them at the right place at the right time, it won't matter.
Yeah. If nobody's seeing it, what's the point?
No, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. All right, Marianne, it's time for another quick break. We'll be right back after this. Hey, Salt Nation, this is the Worth Your Salt podcast. I'm Jennifer Oraqua, and today I'm talking with Marianne Pruitt about how you can engage your specific target audience across a broader spectrum of advertising channels, including traditional outlets like TV, radio, print, and digital platforms beyond social media. We'd love to hear your thoughts on investing your marketing dollars in media buying, so be sure to join Salt Marketing over on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook and tell us your thoughts. So, Marianne, you've helped develop effective marketing strategies for small businesses and service businesses, and you're really passionate about sharing what you've learned with entrepreneurs looking for actionable marketing tips. So, can you explain the concept of retargeting and how it can be utilized by health and wellness businesses?
Absolutely. Because retargeting is such a beautiful, beautiful tactic where we would know, like I've been in media a long time. So I always go back to where we used to be to where we are now, because where we used to be, somebody would hear an ad and then I could never make sure that that same person got the same ad again. Now in the retargeting space of digital, if they're served that ad, they click on that ad or they engage with that ad, I can now retarget them based on that. I can also look at retargeting them based on a location that they go to or an event that they attend. I can then retarget ads to them and then they click it and then we're retargeting them for a certain period of time. So in health and wellness, it's really identifying where are these audiences potentially where I can look at a physical location to be able to retarget them and serve them an ad there and then retarget them later. But then also just finding them in general for them to click on our ad and then retargeting them down the road. And again, it's going back to defining what a lead is for you so that we can then make sure that we're doing that right thing of, is it a form fill? Is it getting them to pick up the phone? So we know how much we should retarget and how often we should retarget to get that action.
Yeah, I would love to hear some success stories or case studies of businesses that have effectively utilized media buying to reach their target audience.
Oh, there's so many that you can go after. And honestly, so I actually like to use the examples of anybody, of you personally. Go and do Google searches on anything. I did this in front of a high school class. I was headed to the Kentucky Derby, and I did this in front of a high school class just to show them how much you can get retargeted like that. And so I was like, okay, guys, today I'm going to Google Kentucky Derby dresses. That's all I'm going to do is Google that. And then tomorrow we're going to get on my computer again and we're going to just surf the internet for a little bit and you're going to see what happens. And literally what I loved was every day we're all seeing these experiences and where they're going. And the class was like, wait, that's what that is? That's what's happening? And these are high schoolers, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, that's an ad? We didn't know that was an ad. Like to them, they've never known anything different. They really, truly haven't. Yeah. But for them to see all the different brands, all the different high-end, low-end, it didn't matter, of beautiful dresses that were being retargeted back to me just because of how I searched that and clicked on some sites to get there. Now I was being served ads constantly to get there. So these are the things that I actually love for anybody to really think about and go and do your own research on it. See what ads are tracking you and really think of it in that sense. Those are brands that are doing it well. And really anybody can do it. It's not it's not just for the large brands anymore. It is for any kind of brand. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I had a pair of shoes that stalked me for at least a month.
So. Exactly. I know my father calls me and he's like, I was looking for a jacket. Now they won't stop. I need help.
Right.
It's so funny.
Google something else.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So looking ahead, what trends do you see shaping the future of media buying, particularly in the health and wellness industry?
So what we're seeing, period, is actually there's so many trends that are happening right now, but you're seeing AI really take a role. We've been in AI space for a while, and programmatic is a form of AI. I will tell you this, that it's very important to have human-driven AI when it comes to media, and frankly, when it comes to anything, because AI is only as good as AI is only as good as the information that you're putting in. So we've been in AI tools for a while. So those are continued trends. People are not talking about it as much. It's funny because when the whole ChatGPT happened, it's like, we've been here for a while, guys. Why are we freaking out? And I equate it to the internet. If you go back to the 90s, and there's many of us that remember before the internet, right? But the internet's been around since the 60s in government use. Yep. But it wasn't until the World Wide Web, WWW, which I was talking to some young Gen Zers and they're like, that's what WWW is? But yes, that's what it is. It wasn't until the World Wide Web made it all accessible to us. And that's what ChatGPT did. So it made AI all available to everybody. So now anybody's using it. But in that space, I see those trends happening. I also see a continued overconsumption of media. Video is big right now. First party data. Right now, first party data is the number one thing. And in health and wellness, there's things with HIPAA and other things that you have to pay attention to. And really, truly interview and talk to your partners that are well versed in healthcare and in health and wellness and anything HIPAA. You want to be very careful. You want to make sure that you're complying with everything, but also there are tools that we can use to make sure that you're still targeting an audience. But first party data is going to be another big trend. We've been talking about it for years, but this is when people are going to start thinking about it more and more, going into a cookieless world.
Yeah, very smart. And so if I want to learn more about you, about Mosaic Media, or even get started with my own media buying campaign, where can I go?
You can go to our website, which is mosaic.agency/contact. That comes straight to my email. You can also go to mosaic.agency/blogs. And I write articles constantly on this, helping in all areas. We love to help. We work with the largest of the large to the smallest of the small. We love to help however we can. Or reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm just Marianne Pruitt on LinkedIn, or I'm on X at MediaMaps. So find me. I'm happy to help however I possibly can. Pick my brain. I could talk media all day long.
All right, perfect. And of course, links to Marianne's LinkedIn and Mosaic Media's website, as well as everything Marianne mentioned, will be available on our website at saltmarketing.co. But right now, it is time for our lightning round questions. These are a few quick questions I like to ask of every guest. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. What's something about you that often surprises people?
That I sing. And no, I'm not going to sing for you, but that's the number one thing. Yeah. So I sing. And so that's something that often surprises. And then the other thing is that I have two very high performance athlete children that in baseball and basketball. So those are the two things that people are like, oh, she has a life outside of media. Who knew? But it's true.
And clearly you're very passionate about what you do, but what's your favorite thing about what you do?
I love working with all different size clients, like we're talking hundreds and tens of millions of dollars down to the really small budgets. I love the wide spectrum that my job lets me have. And then I also love the leadership and the development, because media is constantly changing. So we're constantly having to stay on our toes of what's next. So these are the things that I'm passionate about, and I love helping. That's probably the number one thing, is to help people as much as they can and bring access to no matter what size your business is.
I love that. All right, next question. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Best piece of advice I've ever been given is to trust my instincts and trust my gut. And I would say that's the best. And that's the advice I like to give everybody at any point, is always trust your instincts and trust your gut. If your gut's telling you something, lean in a little bit more.
All right. Finally, who's inspiring you right now? What podcast are you listening to, or what's the best book you've read recently?
So one of my best friends also is Drew McClellan in the agency space. I always listen to his podcast. Absolutely love him. So I love listening to him. Ed Mylett is another one that I absolutely love listening to podcast-wise, just leadership and growth. And then I am a nerd reader, and I am constantly reading. Right now I'm reading Leading Change by Cotter. I have a lot. I always have I'm the nightstand reader where I'm what am I going to read tonight? So, but yeah, so there's tons of books and tons of things that I'm constantly reading. Radical Candor is one of my favorite books that I love to push every time I talk to anybody. And Never Eat Alone. That's another good one. That's a good one that's been around for a while that everybody should read once in a while.
Yeah, definitely. And you're the second guest to mention Ed Mylett in the last 2 weeks. So that's great.
I love Ed Mylett. He's just inspiring, and I love listening to his podcast. I listen to it at least once a week. I'm a big podcast. I run/walk every morning. So I'm listening to my podcast for a good hour, and that's what I love.
Very nice. Marianne, thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode of Worth Your Salt.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, Jennifer.
I also want to thank our audience and let you know that if you're ready for your Worth Your Salt debut, you can tell us about your expertise by emailing us at grow@saltmarketing.co. Of course, be sure to subscribe on our website so you never miss an episode. Finally, leave us a review or give the show a handful of stars wherever you get your content. That's all for this episode of Worth Your Salt. Be sure to join me again next time. In the meantime, let's get out there and shake things up.